Lumos.
Let's pull out our wands and light the tips, but we're not blowing smoke, we're here to illuminate Memory Tom Riddle. As I mentioned earlier in the podcast, I think that the Muggle-born attacks were going to stop once Harry had Tom Riddle's diary in his possession. So follow me here. Later in the Chamber of Secrets, Tom Riddle tells Harry that killing mudbloods doesn't matter to him anymore. And for however long, he had set his sights on Harry. See, if Harry had kept the diary, Memory Tom wouldn't have used Harry to open the chamber the same way that he did Ginny. He would have had a different plan. One that would have allowed him to accomplish two things. One, he wanted to learn how Harry defeated the older version of himself in the first place. And two, he wanted to make sure the current memory version of himself succeeded in killing Harry. So now, my friends, it's theory time. I think that Memory Tom Riddle's plan was to do to Harry what nearly happened to Ginny, but slightly differently. He wanted to first gain Harry's trust, to get him to share how he survived as a baby. And when Voldemort Prime or Oldie Voldy or the Noseless Wonder, whatever you want to call the grown version of Tom Riddle, had failed to kill Harry when it was just a little infant. Notice I said failed, because Memory Tom knows that Voldemort had at least 2 Horcruxes at this point, because he was one of them, and he already made the ring at that point in time. So he knew his older version wouldn't have died, but he would have hoped that Harry could help him understand whatever the mistake was and why he failed. Maybe even learn why he was trying to kill Harry in the first place, because 16-year-old Tom Riddle doesn't know anything about a prophecy. And then, once Memory Tom got the information he was seeking, he would have wanted to lure Harry into the chamber the same way he did Ginny, to suck Harry's soul into himself. I think that he would have left a very similar message on the wall, but been a bit more deliberate in saying, Harry Potter's bones will lie in the chamber forever. He would have absolutely killed Harry and returned himself to a living state in one checker move. King me! Notice I did say checkers, because I don't think this is quite chess. We can only have one chess master in these books. But alas, let me know what you think of that idea. But in playing it out, his focus would have had to have been on releasing the monster, or would it? I don't think so. Do you really think that, let's just back it up a second. Let's say that Tom Riddle Memory Tom, is successful in getting the information that he wants out of Harry, getting Harry to the Chamber of Secrets, and getting the soul swap magic happening, and killing Harry Potter. Harry Potter is dead on the floor. Memory Tom is fully alive and human again. Do you think the first order of business is then release the Basalisk and kill Muggle-born students in Hogwarts? Maybe, maybe not. I don't think so. I think that Justin and Nearly Headless Nick may have actually been the last victims of the Basilisk. I'm inclined to think that Tom would have wanted to keep himself quiet. Similar to when the old Voldemort came back in Goblet of Fire, the intention was to slither in under the radar. Yes, those are spell puns and house puns, all in the same place on this podcast, full of puns. I think that young Voldemort would have wanted to get the heck out of Dumbledore's backyard quickly and quietly, and probably go track down the wandering bit of soul of his older self, I don't know what the plan would have been from there. I know there are some theories out there about what that might have been. I have not taken this that far at this point in time. I just think that it's kind of crazy, and I'm wondering if you do too. So let me know what you think.
Divination.
It's time to highlight 4 moments in the chapter that foreshadow something to come in the future. Ron warning Harry about touching the diary, citing dangerous books that his dad told him about, is a huge foreshadow, making it our first one for this episode. It's foreshadowing that very diary being the literal big bad for this book. They have no idea that they're picking up the heir of Slytherin's soul, capable of human possession, designed to bring Tom Riddle back to life in human form from a book. And not to mention open the Chamber of Secrets and kill all Muggleborns in Hogwarts. Yeah, Ron, it's a dangerous book. You called it, bud. Sheesh. 2. He must have been a Muggleborn to have bought a diary from Vauxhall Road. Not quite a divination master like his boy Ron, Harry's got this one wrong. But what it does foreshadow is that Tom Riddle wasn't Muggleborn, but he was raised by Muggles in an orphanage. An orphanage that apparently took at least one shopping trip to a place called Vauxhall Road, a place Harry recognized. Another small parallel between Harry and Tom and orphan children, and a big piece of Tom Riddle's history and ultimately his journey to becoming Voldemort. 3. Could have been anything, said Ron. Maybe he got 30 owls or saved a teacher from the giant squid. Maybe he murdered Myrtle. That would have done everyone a favor. Another literal spot-on foreshadow from Ron in this chapter. It's really too bad the movies relegated him to comic relief, because in the books, he's kind of important. 4. And while Harry was sure he had never heard the name T.M. Riddle before, it still seemed to mean something to him. Almost as though Riddle was a friend he'd had when he was very small and had half forgotten. Horcrux alert! This is a foreshadow to the bit of Voldy's soul living inside of Harry, and likely a small twinge of destiny, as there was a prophecy linking these two well before that. That connection is what sent Voldy to try and kill him as a baby in the first place. Not to mention the ensuing years of childhood and similarities that played out. Orphans, Muggle upbringing, even looking a bit similar. And those are before the power of transfer, like Parseltongue, and later the Priori Incantatem. There's a lot connecting these two, and it's kind of a big foreshadow. Now let's give away some
House points.
In true Hogwarts fashion, these points are completely subjective with no oversight and at fully my discretion. This week, I'm giving house points to Harry. He's getting 10 for being kind of getting the first opportunity to perfect his favorite spell and get the diary back from Draco, and for figuring out how to use said diary. I'm also giving 5 points to Ron for all his accurate divination, despite not having a clue he was doing it. Now I'm going to take away some house points from Harry. He's losing 5 for actually using and believing the diary. It's super helpful, but it's not very smart to trust a magic book that's acting this strangely, even for a magic world. Probably should have listened to Ron, bud. 2, Draco. He's losing 5 for being a bully. Myrtle is also losing 5 for being annoying. Lockhart losing 5 for being annoying as shit with his Cupid dwarfs. So maybe I should make Lockhart 6. Yeah, let's make Lockhart 6, because there's a difference between being annoying and being annoying as shit. So there you go. 1 point difference. Ernie Macmillan losing 5 for being annoying as shit too, and still accusing Harry of being the heir. So let's make that 5 actually a 7. So we can just have compounding annoyances in this chapter. And then who else should lose some points? Oh yeah, let's take some points from Memory Tom Riddle for framing Hagrid 50 years ago. I think that's worth 50, don't you? Yeah, we're going to make that 50. I will add these to the tally for the end of this season's Binge Awards. And before we go, I have to acknowledge the moments in the chapter that were utterly
Ridiculous.
It's not an episode of Belated Binge if we don't call out what didn't make any sense. Starting with kind of the whole flushing of a book down the toilet and it actually getting down the pipes at all to hit Myrtle in what was described as a U-bend. And then we also get massive flooding. Like, the fact that someone would even try to flush a book down the toilet is kind of ridiculous. And then the ensuing physics of how it all worked, and then a ghost, and then bathroom flooding, and it's not really clear why the flooding is happening, what's going. It's all very strange. Ultimately, we just needed to keep Moaning Myrtle relevant to the story while getting the diary into Harry's hands. So, I guess, sure, this is a way to do that. I also find it pretty ridiculous that Dumbledore kept Tom Riddle's awards and honors in the school at all. I think he would have gotten rid of those just as quick as he got rid of the Horcrux books. With that, we've reached the end of this episode of The Binge. As always, shout out to producer Jack, who I work like a dog. Remember to follow and subscribe to the show on whatever podcast player you're using right now. And if it supports a rating and review option, please leave one. And if you're so inclined, check out all the additional benefits available at patreon.com/belatedbinge. If you're reading along, next episode, I will cover Chapter 14 of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Cornelius Fudge. Until then, I'll see you next time on the Belated Binge podcast. "What's up?" said Ron, looking at him with concern. "It was Hagrid, Ron. Hagrid opened the Chamber of Secrets 50 years ago."